Dead Zombies deck.
Really cool deck. Matt Scott made all the way to the top 8 with Blue Black Zombie.
Okay, here we go. Grand Prix Baltimore 2012, the final. Dave Shiels, Blue Black Control. Matthew Costa, Blue White Delver. Should shape up to be a very exciting match. I'm Sheldon Menery in the booth with Steve Satan. We got Nate Price, Rashad Miller over in the command center. There's a shot of Dave Shiels. We'll probably swing around. There's Matthew Costa, who, as we said, is a player on fire right now.
Yeah, he's just been having a phenomenal year. Costa had 2 limited Grand Prix top 8s last season. Comes back this year, decides that he wants to work more on his constructed game. Turns around, goes 9-0-1 during the Swift round. Standard at Pro Tour Dark Ascension in Honolulu. Makes his first Pro Tour top 8. Comes back here 2 weeks later, finds himself in the top 8 yet again, now in the finals, playing for his first Grand Prix title. Players both mulligan down to 6 to start the first game.
Game 3 against Strike Count. Dark Shores,
Rio Liana, one keeper.
Yeah. With her going.
Dave is going to be on the play.
When she's on 5, I just don't want to smash.
Obviously, with
Allows him to
Yeah, but
get
then
his mana leak online before Costa's going to be able to play most of his threats. Except for Delver's Secrets.
Who do you think going to 6 for both players benefits most?
She had turn 3 Geist.
I think it's a little bit better for
Casually
Costa.
range the answer to.
Costa's deck isn't as mana hungry as Dave's. He doesn't need quite that same density of cards in his hand. Dave needs a lot of lands and a lot of spells for his deck to really function at its best. Whereas Costa just needs a couple of lands and he can cast everything.
Well, he can get dangerous very, very early by having a turn 1 Delver.
Oh, certainly. And Costa's able to sneak through something like a Geist of Saint Trap. It's going to win him the game in just a couple of turns. Okay. And we see Costa does indeed have a Delver in his hand, but Dave Shiels has some black removal spells that he'll be able to use to take care of it, including a Go for the Throat and a Black Sun Zenith. Costa will indeed lead off on the Delver. And let's see how long Dave waits to use his Go for the Throat.
Well, he'll probably wait for the reveal, right? Nope.
No, just going to do it immediately.
Not going to
Does not want to give Costa an opportunity to Vapor Snag his own Delver back to his hand. You know, Vapor Snag not a great card against Dave, unless he gives Costa good opportunities to use it.
See Costa pondering there. Rune Chanter's Pike, Taxian Probe, and we'll see the third card in a second.
I believe it was Lant. Costa thinking about this.
You need to land.
Looks like he's going to keep it. Wants to cast that Taxian Probe, get a little bit more information out of Dave Shiels' hand. That's this turn, or he might wait. He is going to wait. Play next turn. You can also play a Snapcaster Mage, flashing back either the Probe or the Ponder that he just cast.
There's early Drown Yard, certainly a significant key to Dave Shiels' path to victory in this game.
Costa has mana available, but chooses to pay 2 life to play its Taxian Probe. See a Think Twice, Black Sun Zenith, Consecrated Sphinx, and a land.
And another Drown Yard.
Knows that Dave does not have any counter spells, does not have any instant speed removal. Costa's going to be able to get away with whatever he wants this turn. Needs to pay respect to the Black Sun Zenith that Dave will be able to cast as soon as he draws another Black Source.
downside for Matthew Costa here, he's got no removal for the Drown Yard.
But it takes a long time to win with Drown Yard. If the game's dragging on to that point, that means that some things have gone really wrong for Costa's deck.
So, Snapcaster
brings back Ponder. Costa does not like what he sees, shuffles up his deck to draw a new card.
He feels like anything random is going to be better than the 3 that he looked at.
Yeah. Now, we know that Costa drew a Runechanter's Pike off his Taxian Probe. He had set up the top few cards of his library with his previous Ponder. That's going to turn any threat that he plays into a very real source of damage.
Something significant.
See that Costa also has a Moreland Haunt in his hand, so Shiels is going to have to kill off every creature
Twice.
Costa makes, and the spirit token that is brought in its wake.
There's the other Drown Yard for Shields.
We see that Dave Shiels drew a swamp. Does not want to show that to Costa. Wants Costa to play without the knowledge that Dave can cast Black Sun Zenith at any point. See, Costa does not play a sword or pike pre-combat. He's going to play sort of War and Peace after the attack. He could have played pike before combat, immediately equipped it, but instead decided to wait a little bit, play sword now.
Flashback, think twice.
Dave flashes back think twice, draws another think twice. Dave is about to play his 5th land, pretty close to being able to cast his Consecrated Sphinx.
Card is a significant difference maker. You know, we talked over the weekend, some of the builds running Grave Titan, some of them running Consecrated Sphinx. We have to recall Consecrated Grave Titan doesn't win Dave Shiels that last game.
No.
If he feels it.
No. Cannot block the Bloodline Keeper. It's equipped with Sword of Peace and Banner. Okay. Dave Shiels trying to figure out how he wants to handle the next couple of turns. He's going to play a main phase Forbidden Alchemy. Looking for a Mana Leak or a Ghost of the Throat.
There's a Mana Leak.
Found a Liliana of the Veil. Potentially relevant, but be surprised if he takes anything other than the Mana Leak. Mulling over his options. Liliana, also very strong, not that great in the face of... Oh, but he takes the Liliana. Does not know that Costa has a Moreland Haunt in his hand. Okay. Costa draws for his turn. Draws a Dismember. Isn't quite enough to kill a Consecrated Sphinx. It only gives -5/-5. Consecrated Sphinx is a 4/6. Costa goes ahead and equips the Snapcaster Mage with his Sword of War and Peace.
It's a total of 9 damage.
Yeah, that is going to take away half of Dave Shiels' life total. Makes him on 9. After combat, the Costa is going to play the Moreland Haunt.
And that sword makes every creature that Dave Shiels kills eligible to come back as a threat to do more significant damage to his lifetime.
Yep. Moreland Haunt, really great way for Costa to restock, even if Dave resolves the Black Sun Zenith. And we also know that Costa has a Runechanter's Pike in his hand, so he's representing lethal damage out of literally nothing. Makes a Moreland Haunt token, plays a Pike, equips the Pike, equips the Sword of War and Peace, and Dave's dead. Dave's got to tread very carefully. Also, if Dave taps out for Consecrated Sphinx, Costa's going to be able to untap,
And force him
play
to block.
Enchanter's Pike, yeah, force him to jump block.
It's not often Consecrated Sphinx is the chump blocker.
No, it is not.
There he's got his
A
6.
sword and a Runenchanter's Pike, anything becomes a chump blocker. Oh, we see that Dave has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. He can use that to flashback, go for the throat, or Mana Leak.
Good.
Pass the turn over to Costa. Costa thinking about whether or not he wants to use Moorland Haunt. Might be mistaken. Dave might still be in his main phase. Costa hasn't actually played that many spells this game, but they've done a lot. Turn gets passed. Costa does not use his Moorland Haunt. Draws an Invisible Stalker.
Matt Costa looking up at Dave Shiels for a read of any kind. There's the Snapcaster.
Now, we know that Costa doesn't have any counter spells in his hand. He's not going to be able to break this up. Dave's going to be able to get his Go for the Throat back. Leave Costa without any creatures on the board.
Both these players being very, very cool about their plays, taking their time.
Dave is playing with respect to the possibility that Costa could have Mana Leak in his hand. So he targets the Go for the Throat with Snapcaster Mage, but he's going to wait. He's going to move his Snapcaster Mage in front of the incoming.
Right. He doesn't have to play that Go for the Throat right away.
He has the whole turn to do that. Chump off. Very thoughtful play on Dave's part. Actually, does not work to his advantage in this situation because Costa doesn't have a Mana Leak. But Costa did have a Mana Leak. It would be really good for him. Matt trying to figure out if he wants to make a follow-up play. Probably not going to play that Invisible Stalker, knowing that Dave has Black Sun Zenith in his hand. But he may play the Runenchanter's Pike. And he does play Runenchanter's Pike.
Okay.
Dave knows that he needs to play the Go for the Throat right now. Oh, he's going to play this thing twice first.
He's going to want to see what options he has. He's probably still going to play the Go for the Throat. He's got no
And
reason
now
not
he
to,
does.
right?
Gets rid of the Snapcaster Mage. With Moorland Haunt, Runenchanter's Pike, and Sword of War and Peace. Costa's really got Dave on the rope. Dave knows that his Consecrated Sphinx won't be good enough unless he draws another land right here to allow him to... Oh.
That changes
That
everything.
was huge. Dave
So-
Shiels just threw a Curse of Death's Hold. If that resolves, that neutralizes every threat in Costa's deck, except for Geist's Saint Trap.
You and I, of course, are pretty sure that that is going to resolve. Dave Shiels doesn't have the same top-down view that we have of the player's hands.
And Dave has a Liliana in his hand already. So even Geist won't be good enough. That was a huge draw for Shields.
I think he just said go.
Wow.
He does.
A lot of respect.
Playing around that, certainly playing around the Mana Leak for everything.
he has the tragic slip. He can buy more time.
Yep.
But this is also going to give Costa more time to draw counters, to play out a threat, to equip it with sword.
Okay, he's drawn a land. He's going to
Move to equip the sword first. He knows that tragic slip is in Shiels' deck. So it's better to equip the sword for Rune Channer's Pike. And Dave does indeed respond by playing tragic slip. He plays a main phase invisible stalker. Dave cannot counter. He's going to move to equip it with sword as soon as... Oh, wait, no. Dave still has that Think Twice in his yard. He might be able to draw an answer here. Does not. He draws another Think Twice. So, the Invisible Stalker is going to resolve. Presumably, it will get equipped with Sword of War and Peace. Dave found the Mana Lake, but a bit too late. Oh, Costa did not equip it.
He's going to keep Moreland Haunt.
So, now if Dave goes to cast the Curse of Deathhold here,
2 in hands.
could very well just win him the game.
Yeah, obviously he sees that Matthew Costa only has 2 cards in his hand. Seems like a fair gambit.
Don't know if he can afford to go for anything else. He doesn't have any spot removal. Steals a end of turn Moreland Haunt token.
Well, he's got the Black Sun Zenith too. He can.
But even if he does that, Costa can make a token at the end of his turn, equip it with both sword and Rune Channer's Pike. Costa could have played the sword on his own, equipped the sword on his own turn, but he knew that Dave Shiels had Black Sun Zenith from when he had attacked and probed him earlier.
There it is.
Right?
Here's the Curse of Deathhold. That's gonna make things very, very difficult for Matthew Costa in this game.
Now, it's funny, had Costa not played the Taxing Probe, had he not known that Dave Shiels had the Black Sun Zenith in his hand, he might have made a play that would have won him the game. But that bit of knowledge really ultimately hurt him.
May have worked against him.
Plays it around the Black Sun Zenith, just walks right into the Curse of Deathhold that Dave had drawn. Now, Dave suddenly finds himself a handful of answers, Curse of Deathhold on the board. Only thing that Matt has in his deck is Geist of St. Trapt. Literally nothing else will survive.
And Matt really has no
His
main deck ways to deal with that.
After sideboarding, he can bring in Celestial Purges, he can bring in Jace Memory Adept, maybe Revoke Existence, Batter Skull, but right now, it's just those 4 Geists.
Go.
Matt draws.
6.
He did draw a Geist of St. Trapt, but we already know that Dave has a lot of good answers in his hand. Matt doing some maths in his head, trying to decide if he wants to wait a little while, find a piece of protection that can allow him to live through the Black Sun Zenith that he knows is in Dave's hand, or any other answers that Dave could have and did in fact draw. No, he's just going to cast it right now.
Yeah.
Knows that it is not going to have a very high life expectancy. Dave goes to cast Dissipate, but doesn't have the mana to play it. Okay, think twice. Draws Dave another Liliana. That Liliana resolves right here. It's going to be nearly impossible for Costa to win this game. Is Liliana. Dave is going to make Costa sacrifice his Geist of St. Trapt. And that's probably going to be enough to
I
win
think
Dave the game.
that's pretty much game. I mean, Matt's got to
He's going to play a Gitaxian Probe. That might be enough to get him to concede. Sees the 2 Black Sun Zenith. Sees the Snapcaster Mage. Sees the Consecrated Sphinx. Mana Leak could dissipate another Liliana.
That's a pretty spicy hand for David Shiels. Especially
Another Gitaxian Probe.
Matt digging for answers.
Matt's going to stick around for a little bit longer.
Well, he's got nothing to lose. He's not under time pressure. As long as he takes his turns in a timely fashion. He's got to hope that Dave Shiels punts something in his direction.
I don't think that, even if he tried his very hardest to, I don't think that Dave could lose this game. Play a main phase Forbidden Alchemy.
Once again, we talked about resource management in Magic. Giving yourself the opportunity to sift through so many cards.
Dave finds another land. He wants to get to a point where he can play his Consecrated Sphinx. Most players are going to discard to the Liliana. Dave still has a handful of really good cards. Costa has next to nothing in his hand. Staring down a Curse of Deathhold. The only live threats in his deck are 3 copies of Geist of St. Traft. His mana leaks are no longer going to be very relevant. We've got Geist of St. Traft and Vapor Stag is really the only cards that matter for Costa. Even if he drew all of them at this moment, I don't know if he could beat what Dave Shiels has right now.
In his hand, certainly. Once he gets to 9 mana to be able to cast the Sphinx and back it up with Dissipate, the writing is just really on the wall.
And Dave Shiels again picks up Liliana, makes most players discard. Passes the turn. Costa through another land. And he is now getting milled by Nephalia Drownier.
We'll see if we can get them to move their graveyards up so that we can see them on the camera.
Liliana goes up once again. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the curse of Deathhold could have come down a turn or two earlier, but
Dave was
playing.
respecting.
Yes, he was playing very conservatively. He actually didn't have a reason to not play conservatively.
But he had a lot of answers. He had the tragic slip that he could use to make sure he didn't die.
Matthew Costa certainly one turn away from winning this game.
And Dave, Matt drew a Geist of St. Traft, but can't live past a Liliana. Dave isn't even going to bother trying to resolve this threat. He's just going to keep using his Nephalia Drownyards to mill out Matt Costa.
At 6 a turn, it's not going to take us very long.
Right? And again, Liliana. And again, the turn to Costa.
Okay, there it is. Matthew Costa scoops him up. Game 1 goes to Dave Shiels. What do you think the sideboard plan looks like? Matthew Costa's going to be on the play.
Probably going to bring in his 2 Dissipate. I could see him bringing in his Celestial Purges. The Surgical Extraction, probably going to make its way in. Jace Memory Adept, also likely to make an appearance. I think the 2 Dismembers from his main deck are certainly going out. I could see him trimming some of his Vapor Snags. He probably wants to keep at least 1 or 2, but having a full 4 seems bit much.
Now, knowing that Matt is probably going to bring in the surgical extraction, does that make Dave Shiels a little more careful about what he pitches into his graveyard? If he doesn't yet have a ground yard in play.
If Dave can afford to play with respect to surgical extraction, he will. But a lot of times, he's just going to be trying to survive, trying to get to a point where he has that luxury. But once he's there, Dave is a very thoughtful player, really tries to take into account as much as possible at all times. But in the early stages of the game, don't see him worrying about surgical extraction. I think he's just going to try his best to make sure he gets to a point where he has 6-7 mana on the board, make sure he isn't just dying.
All right, so we see shot there of Dave Shiels, Matthew Costa on the other side. Looking at each other's deck lists. Again, we're going to have that sort of game within a game where what is he likely to sideboard? What's the standard list say to sideboard against me? And then how much do I play either by the book or try something a little tricky?
Oh, we also see Costa looking at reporting out some of his invisible stalkers, some of his equipment.
Let him draw it. I think twice through my draw phase, I thought I lost.
Porting out all of his invisible stalkers in his equipment. Nope, leaving the surgical extraction on the board.
I don't know, because I can equip sword there, but then I'm dead to...
What do you think the motivation for porting out the stalkers is?
And if I don't equip sword, I need
Stalkers are not great threats on their own. They get a lot better with equipment.
Yeah, well, that's...
Costa thinks that he wants more raw threats and
So, like, it
answers
was
in his
basically
deck.
like whether I think
He wants to win off of his Geist of St. Threat.
Cards that do things by themselves as opposed to need some help doing something.
Correct. Dave's deck has a lot of answers. Matt might not be looking to play into that any more than he has to. He doesn't want to have these 2-card combos of Invisible Stalker and Rune Chanter's Pike. If the game gets drawn out, he doesn't want to get attritioned out because he's invested too many of these cards. We'll notice that Costa brought in his Dissipates while Dave Shiels left his Dissipates in the sideboard. Costa playing this aggressive deck. There's a lot of ways to come out, get ahead of Dave.
When she mulled 4, I made her discard with
And then you can use the Dissipates to further press that advantage.
Well, we know that Dave has 2 dissipates already in the main deck.
Right. He might have
Full suite
ordered some of those out.
Full suite of 4 definitely would have been.
Knowing her 22 land deck.
Certainly say so.
Oh, it kills a lot of her.
Yeah, I'll prefer it.
3 mana for a counterspell isn't going to cut it a lot of the time for Dave. We saw how much Dave was backpedaling in game 1.
Again, yeah, he was certainly a turn away, but it seems like he's lived the last couple of rounds a turn away.
Right? One draw step away from losing his semifinal match to Jackie Lee. Drew the consecrated Sphinx that he needed to take the game and the match. Now finds himself up a game against Matt Costa in the final.
What other outs did he have at the time?
He could have drawn Black Sun Zenith, or
He didn't have enough to kill it, but enough to take the damage down.
You're usually the tight card.
He have enough to kill it?
he was able to kill it, or a Liliana.
Oh, no, he was at 1, so yeah, he would have had to kill it. Or Liliana.
The only options open to him at that time.
So the thing about Black Sun Zenith is, most of the time, it's in your deck.
Huh? Funny way of sticking around.
Yeah.
Sure, it's makes so I can't tap out.
Players now shuffling up for game 2. They're done sideboarding. Costa's going to be on the play this game. See if he can get off to a quick enough start and back that start up with some counter spells.
Well, Matthew Costa did mulligan a 6 in a game. He did have the turn 1 Delver, but
actually, yeah,
Dave
yeah,
Shiels
yeah,
had an
sorry.
immediate answer, had the tragic slip to take care of it.
He went like Moscow or Snap.
Matt did not draw any counter spells that game.
There was somebody else that was telling the story.
Mentally Sprawl, floating around inside of the deck. Had he drawn even a single one, he would have been able to stop that Curse of Death hold, take the game.
All right, so we're gonna go to game 2. These two exciting young players, Matthew Costa, David Shiels. Certainly a signal of great things to come for both these players.
Without a doubt, Costa has been on an absolute tear recently. Dave Shiels has actually been around for a while. He won a Grand Prix last season, and he had his first top 8 a number of years ago. Let me pull up that event. A extended Grand Prix in... Computer's lagging a little bit.
Looks like Dave is going to go to 6 in game 2. So Mulligan's a significant factor in the top 8 here at GP Baltimore 2012.
2 games against Paula and 2 games against
Costa keeps his 7-card hand. Dave knows that he needs to have a pretty quick reactive hand, or he's just going to lose to any Delver opening that Matt Costa may have.
I don't know who you play.
Dave doesn't have any early removal spells, any Ratchet Bomb, any Tragic Slips. He's going to be very vulnerable.
Not real magic. Pro in his hand, 6 land. Made a lot of jokes. It's only good because it's thinking if there's anybody else that would be atmosphere.
Matthew Costa checking out a spirit token there while he's waiting for Dave to present his deck. Are you leaving Baltimore tomorrow?
I'm actually going to be driving back to New York tonight.
Oh.
Soon after this match ends.
So what do you got, about 5 hours?
It's not too bad. It might be a little bit quicker without that much traffic. It's pretty late.
You traveling by yourself or you traveling with other folks?
Driving with some of the players who were in this event. The co-NSB gear is Sam Black. Talked to them a little bit about their tournament. Right, and Costa leads off with a Taxing Probe. Sees a hand of Island, Swamp, Ratchet Bomb, Black Sun Zenith, Think Twice, and Consecrated Sphinx.
Dave Shiels is going to have to think a lot more than twice to get into that Consecrated Sphinx.
And Costa plays a Ponder, sees a couple lands and a Celestial Purge. It's like Costa kept a 1-land hand. He had the Taxing Probe, he had the Ponder, so wasn't going to have too much difficulty throwing his lands, but he does not have any threats yet.
He does have a couple mana
he has
leaks.
Snapcaster Mage, which he can cast immediately, bring back to Taxian Probe, recoup that card. Let's see what he is going to do. Not necessarily the flashiest way to use a Snapcaster Mage, but really efficient. You're able to get a threat onto the board without investing any cards to do so.
Well, we saw Owen Turtenwald go to the Snapcaster Mage beatdown plan. There's a Ratchet Bomb for Dave Shiels. We've seen Snapcaster get into the red zone quite a bit this weekend.
Snapcaster Mage likes attacking. Attack is going to put Dave on 18 and a Ponder. Will find Costa a Delver, a land, and a Vapor Sag. Costa trying to decide if he wants to keep this set. Still trying to figure out what he wants to do with that ponder. Keeps it. Draws the Vapor Snag. Leaves the Delver Secrets on top of his deck. Possibly planning to draw the Delver on his next turn and Salt Scour away the remaining land. Costa probably wants the Vapor Snag in his hand right now, in case Dave Shiels tries to do something to kill his Snapcaster Mage. Costa will be able to get it back. Also might not be really jumping to play a Delver here and let himself get 2-for-1 by the Black Sun Zenith that he knows is already in Dave's hand.
Yeah, he's gonna just ride Snapcaster Mage.
Scour, he's just getting rid of the Delver.
He's gonna ride
and
Snapcaster.
He finds another Delver
As long as he can before having to do something else. His deck.
We'll know that. We see that Costa also has a Marlin Haunt in his hand, so he can make good use of the Delver that he just milled with his Salt Scour.
And his deck
we
runs.
can get the graveyards on camera.
Deck runs pretty good on less mana than Dave Shiels' deck runs on.
Right. Dave needs to be making his land runs. Whereas Costa's pretty happy stopping on 3, maybe 4 lands.
There's another Delver.
Plays the Delver before playing his land, allowing Dave to mana leak it.
Interesting.
Hoping to
play
get the
choice.
mana leak out of Dave's hand. Clearly a very calculated decision. Dave casts to think twice. Gets to decide what he wants to do with his Ratchet Bomb. He wants to try to Black Sun Zenith on his next turn. Ticks it up to 2. Allows him to kill the Snapcaster Mage or keep it around with respect to any swords that Costa might play.
We know now especially that Costa knows Black Sun Zenith is gonna run into his own mana leak if Shiels tries it here.
We see that Shiels just threw a Phantasmal Image. Not a card that he's going to be rushing to cast. He wants to save that to deal with any Geist of St. Trask that Matt Costa might have.
The guy's significant card in this matchup.
Certainly. Dave tries to cast the Black Sun Zenith for 1. Unsurprisingly, Costa counters it with Mana Leak. Costa has a Gitaxian Probe in his hand, has not cast it yet. He wants to wait for a good opportunity to get much information as possible out of Dave. Costa already has all the spells that he needs to cast for the next couple of turns.
There's the reveal, and we transform the Delver into Insectile Aberration.
Between Insectile Aberration and Snapcaster Mage, Costa's getting ready to attack for 5.
Shields can obviously Ratchet Bomb the Snapcaster away.
Yep. And sees the hand of Consecrated Sphinx, Black Sun Zenith, Phantasmal Image. Land. Looking really good for Costa.
Well,
Shields
Shields is probably going to think about Black Suns again on his next turn because he's run 1 into a mana leak. Matthew Costa not playing a huge suite of counter spells.
No, but he does have Snapcaster Mage that can allow him to bring it back. Said, Shields can't really afford to sit and wait. He's got to act now. He drew Liliana. It's another good card for him. He can blow up the Ratchet Bomb for 2, play Liliana. However, Matt Costa has a Moorland Haunt out to generate more tokens. give himself protection from that Liliana. Seems likely that Dave is going to go ahead and cast the Black Sun Zenith right here.
Does Matt have a guy in his graveyard?
That does. He has a Delver.
Oh, there's a
Seeker.
Delver. Right, I see it right next to the two Ponders.
We should keep in mind that Dave can place Phantasmal Image, copying Snapcaster Mage, allowing him to flashback Black Sun Zenith.
He's just going to run out the Black Sun Zenith.
2. Is Matt Costa going to Mana Leak, or is he going to... He's going to Mana Leak it. He also had the option to Vapor Snag back his Snapcaster Mage, which is still on the table at any point.
Although, then Dave just responds with blowing Ratchet Bomb.
For 2, yeah.
Which he's probably going to do here anyway.
If he does, Costa will almost certainly play Vapor Snag to pick it up again.
Or maybe he does. Maybe he wants to get into the Phantasmal Image play.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to kill the Phantasmal Image because he wants to use it.
Definitely something that Dave is going to have to consider. And Dave does take the hit. He falls down to 6. Costa passes the turn back. It's a handful of really good answers. He has the ability to Vapor Snag back his Snapcaster Mage. Even if Dave uses the Ratchet Bomb in response, Costa has yet another Vapor Snag.
So go for the throat.
Shield has a lot of good cards in his hand, but doesn't have a ton of time to use them. Dave trying to figure out the best way to spend this turn. Should he play his Phantasmal Image? Should he play the Liliana? He does play the Liliana.
Now, Matt can certainly Vapor Snag.
Well, that doesn't really do much in the face of Liliana.
Well, he can Vapor Snag Snapcaster.
Use his Moreland Haunt in response. Creates a spirit token that he sacrifices to the Liliana. Shield could now try to go for the throat, the Insectile Aberration, and Ratchet Bomb away the Snapcaster Mage. We happen to know, no, he's just going to pass the turn. We know that Costa has 2 Vapor Snags in his hand that he can use to save his creatures.
The only 2 mana counterspell Costa has is Mana Leak.
Right.
Get 2 mana up there.
Yeah.
And he's already played 2 of them.
But Costa also has the ability to play a Snapcaster Mage, flashing back.
Right. That's the where I was headed right there.
Dave goes for the throw to kill a Insectile Aberration. Matt just lets it go.
He wants those Vapor Snags for his Snapcaster.
Yeah. And Matt, he has some Moreland Haunt. He knows he can hang out. He doesn't have to rush things. Doesn't have to walk into the Consecrated Sphinx that's in Dave's hand. Matt knows the exact content of Dave's hand at this point, thanks to an earlier Jataxian code. Sees the Consecrated Sphinx. Sees the Phantasmal Image.
Right. If Dave tries to cast Phantasmal Image to get value out of that copy in the Snapcaster Mage, it just gets bounced.
Right. And that responds.
He's
Phantasmal Image comes into play, has no target.
Well, doesn't target, but has nothing to copy.
Costa now trying to decide, does he want to play a replacement Delver? Or does he want to just pass the turn, get some more mileage out of his Moreland Haunt, try to win there? He is going to play the Delver. And he passes the turn over to Shiels.
So he's got fodder for Moreland Hunt.
I don't think Shiels realizes quite how bad of a situation he's in right now.
Indeed, looking good for Matthew Costa here in Game 2 of the Finals GP Baltimore on GG's Live. There's the 6th land.
But if Costa plays that consecrated snake, he's just going to get bounced by Vapor Snag. He's looking at his graveyard. See if he can do anything cool by playing the Phantasmal Image and copying Snapcaster Mage. He is going to go for the Phantasmal Image.
All right, Phantasmal Image on the stack.
Yeah. Will Costa respond?
He doesn't have enough mana to bounce Snapcaster, Recast it, and Mana Leak. So that's
No, and even if he could, Shields has 3 mana left over.
all right. Matthew Costa, I think, going into the tank a little bit. Going to think about this play because obviously Ratchet Bomb can still kill the Snapcaster.
Yeah.
The problem for Dave Shiels being, even if he gets rid of this Snapcaster, Matthew Costa makes a Moreland Haunt token,
Right.
and if he is fortunate enough to flip the transform the Delver, that's game anyway.
So Dave resolves his Phantasmal Image, copies Snapcaster Mage, and flashes back a Black Sun Zenith. He's now, in response, Costa is moving to Vapor Snag.
Can we check what creature he's Vapor Snagging?
I believe it's Snapcaster Mage. It is Snapcaster Mage. Is Dave going to respond by sacrificing his Ratchet Bomb? He is. Now, Costa has the opportunity to Vapor Snag once again, or just let it go and make a Moreland Haunt token at the end of Dave's turn. Costa is indeed going to Vapor Snag his own Snapcaster Mage. This also allows him to
Recast it.
Celestial Purge, or he can either recast the Snapcaster Mage or Celestial Purge away the Liliana. Both are very valid options here. Ratchet Bomb is gone. The Black Sun Zenith resolves, takes out all the creatures. Oh no, that hasn't happened quite yet. The Ratchet Bomb is just resolved. And Costa's going to use the Celestial Purge right now. Does not want to discard a card to Liliana.
You don't like the Moreland Hunt token there?
I do. I think that getting that Snapcaster Mage back is going to do a lot of very good things for Costa. Especially, and being able to get rid of that Liliana can be huge. Yeah.
Ponder's good.
Ponder.
There's a Geist,
Found a
right?
Geist Saint Trap that can kill Dave in a single hit. Not be at all surprised to see Costa cast that here. He knows that the one card in his opponent's hand, Consecrated Sphinx. He knows that he can play a Snapcaster Mage, bring back a Vapor Snag and bounce it. does. Yeah. Costa is going to play the Geist of St. Trapp. Now, Dave Shiels is going to have one draw step to find something. He has a sink choice in his yard. He's going to have to either...
He's going to have to think really hard to get out of this situation.
Right. Dave knows that he can't just cast his Consecrated Sphinx because of the Snapcaster Mage in Matt Costa's hand. Draws another card. Island, that's not going to be good enough.
And we're going to go to Game 3. Intense play here at GP Baltimore. Matthew Costa takes down Game 2 against Dave Shiels. Going on. One more game, and the weekend's over.
Yep. All come down to this.
It's all come down to this. 18 rounds of Magic. 1,546 players.
2 remain.
And 2 remain.
Players, and going back to their sideboard for Game 3, it's not a question, not necessarily just a question of whether or not they sideboarded correctly. They're not necessarily looking to correct mistakes. They're looking to do things differently now that the player on the play and draw has changed. Dave Shiels is on the play now. He's going to have some more opportunities to get out ahead. He's not going to fall behind in quite the same way that he did in Game 2 when he's on the draw.
Well, we know that Mana Leak, turn 2 Mana Leak is a huge play in this game.
Yeah.
It robs Matthew Costa of his tempo. It gives Dave Shiels the opportunity to get out in front with his land drops. So, does Shiels really look hard at his opening hand if he doesn't have a Mana Leak?
I don't think Mana Leak is the key card so much. He needs to have a early answer. He doesn't want to just lose to a Delver of Secrets or even a Snapcaster Mage on the first couple of turns. So he wants to have a draw that has Mana Leak or Tragic Slip or Ratchet Bomb or Go for the Throat. If he doesn't have any of those, he's probably going to mulligan.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to have something to do that can affect the board on the first couple of turns. We see Dave Shiels bringing in his Nile Spell Bombs for Game 3, getting rid of the Consecrated Sphinx. We also see that Dave has sideboarded down to 3 Mana Leaks. Doesn't want to have a bunch of them clogging up his hand late in the game. He knows how cheap the spells in Matt Costa's deck are. That Mana Leak can become a dead card later on. Costa leaving the Invisible Stalkers and most of the equipment in his sideboard. I think that Costa now has one sort of War and Peace left in his deck for equipment.
Got another Paper Snake?
Paper Snake, yeah.
What's he going to take out?
Taking out a Dismember makes a lot of sense. He knows that he needs to be able to deal with Consecrated Sphinx. Probably not quite as worried about Bloodline Keeper now as he was before. Shows Dave Shiels his Corrosive Gale. So now, without the Invisible Stalkers in his deck, Costa only has 12 creatures. He has 4 Delver of Secrets, 4 Snapcaster Mages, 4 Geist of St. Trapp.
Is he gonna?
Not that many threats.
And he's got to ride that early tempo into those cards. He's not going to win a late game with Delver of Secrets.
Well, he can if he's able to get through all Dave's answers. Certainly, a lot more likely for him to win a late game with Geist of St. Trapp.
Right.
So, Costa has far fewer lands in his deck than Shiels does. He has a lot of good ways to dig with 4 Ponders, 4 Attacks Intros, and 2 Salt Scours. If the game goes long, Costa has greater spell density in his deck.
We see Ben Friedman behind Matthew Costa, rooting him on.
Ben Friedman, Matt Costa, really good friends.
Jason Ford.
They all work together for events. Often end up playing the same deck. Matt Costa actually had to beat Ben Friedman in a 73-card mirror match, en route to his trip to the top 8.
And thereby knocking his friend out.
Yeah. Costa, of course, now finds himself in the finals. Ben Friedman, 10th place. 13-3 record at the end of the day. There's shuffling up for Game 3. They're done sideboarding. Costa hoping to open up on Delver's Secrets. Dave Shiels hoping to have some good early answers. Get to a point in the game where you can really cast his spells.
Matthew Costa's Moorland Haunts probably more significant in the long game than they are in the shorter one, but they're sort of his backup plan. If he can't win early, if he can't win via that Delver Geist early pressure.
Right, those Moorland Haunts actually give him his own late game plan. He can even get to a point where he has inevitability thanks to them, constantly creating more and more threats. Oh, and we do see a Delver's Secrets in Costa's hand.
Does he have a second land? Yes, he does.
And Dave looking at his hand, I see a lot of lands there. Ratchet Bomb.
He's keeping. That was the I'm keeping gesture.
Bloodline Keeper and something else. Let's see. Does Costa lead off on Taxiing Pro? He does.
He's gonna see that Ratchet Bomb.
Which we see a bunch of lands, a Ratchet Bomb, a Forbidden Alchemy, and a Bloodline Keeper. Costa knows that Dave has the Ratchet Bomb that can be used to take out Delver. He also knows that Dave has a Bloodline Keeper. He can just take over the game.
There's a Delver.
Dave just threw a Mana Leak.
So is there some game of chicken the two of these guys play with each other and the Ratchet Bomb? He chooses to reveal or not.
Right. If he transforms Delver's Secret, it would become a 0 converted mana cost Insectile Aberration. Costa did not have the choice there. He drew an island. But had he found a instant or sorcery on top of the deck, he might have actually just chosen not to transform.
He's going to choose to ponder. He sees a Geist, another land. Just pick up the third card. Thought Scour.
Might be a Moorland Haunt. A Thought Scour and a land. The Moorland Haunt. Yeah, it is. Moorland Haunt looks a lot like Geist. They're both have those white and blue elements in them. Gonna pass the turn back to Dave Shiels, who will put a counter on his Ratchet Bomb. Dave plays another land. He has the option to sacrifice his Ratchet Bomb right now. He can also wait until Costa's upkeep. He does not want the. He's going to go ahead and.
He's going to have to because there's triggered ability on Costa's upkeep, but if he reveals and chooses to transform, Dave Shiels doesn't at that point have the chance to respond by blowing the Ratchet Bomb. So he basically has to do it.
Yeah. If the Delver Secrets becomes an Insectile Aberration, it has 0 converted mana cost and will not die to a Ratchet Bomb on 1. Costa now goes ahead and plays Moorland Haunt, giving way to turn that Delver Secrets just hit the bin into another creature. And he's certainly going to... The Salt Scour. Costa waiting a little bit to use his Moreland Haunt. Finds a Mana Leak. Finds another land.
He knows Shiels has that Bloodline Keeper, which Shiels didn't try to force through on turn 4.
Clearly respecting the possibility that Costa could have a Mana Leak or a Dismember.
That's a Geist.
It is. And a Sword of War and Peace. I believe that's the
It's a good.
only sword left in Costa's deck.
It's two good cards to draw after each other.
Oh, yeah. Now, Costa also has a Vapor Stag in his hand, so should Dave Shiels sneak that Bloodline Keeper in, Costa has a way to keep it off the board for a bit. Alright. And Dave casts Forbidden Alchemy, now looking at a Liliana the Veil, Curse of Deathhold, and I couldn't quite make out those other two cards. We saw Curse of the Deathhold just take over game 1 of this match.
And I have to think that eventually it would take over game 3 of this match. He can certainly spend some time now basically staying alive so that he, in the end, just makes many, many cards in Matt's deck dead.
We see Negate and Snapcaster Mage are the other two cards on the Forbidden Alchemy. Curse of Deathhold, certainly the highest impact card of the bunch, but it costs 5. Might have a hard time resolving it, especially with only one more land in his hand.
And he knows, of course, that Matt Costa is playing Celestial Purge.
Yeah. He is not going to take the Curse of Deathhold. We see what he went with instead. Snapcaster Mage.
Oh, Snapcaster Mage makes your hand bigger.
It does that.
There's Drown Yarn, which again, Matt Costa has no answer to.
But Costa has a Moreland Haunt, so Dave is not going to be rushing to mill him anytime soon. We may see Dave milling himself with the Natalia Drown Yard, trying to get more good flashback cards into his graveyard. Think Twice and Forbidden Alchemy, as well as just any other instant or sorcery that he might want to flash back with Snapcaster Mage.
Be a little aggressive for Matthew Costa to play Geist of Saint Trapped here, or is that the line he wants to follow?
Not sure. So Costa has the Mana Leak that he probably wants to leave up for any threat that Dave would play on his own turn. But Costa has a Sword of War and Peace and a Geist, either of which can take over the game in a matter of turns.
We see Dave Shiels there with Mana Leak of his own.
We also see a Snapcaster Mage in Costa's hand. I could see Costa just sitting back. He's in a pretty good spot. No, but he's thinking about, yeah, he's going to play the Sword of War and Peace. Now, Shiels going to go ahead and Mana Leak that. Costa offers no resistance.
Even with the Mana Leak in his hand, obviously Shiels can pay for the 3 for it.
And that would give Shiels an excellent opportunity to resolve a Bloodline Keeper.
I'm pretty confident he's going to wait till he has 7 mana to try to get the Bloodline Keeper out there.
Seems likely. Already very close. He's got 5 lands on the board, just through 6. Has another Curse of Deathhold. Dave going over his options. Passes the turn back to Costa. Got a lot of good cards in his hand. Doesn't want to force the issue too soon.
Whatever happens in the final game, we're going to get the winner in here. Talk to us about how things went down. Matt Costa can't be happy seeing Dave Shiels pile up the mana, though.
No, not at all. And just opens up a whole range of cards that Costa can play. Things like Curse of Death Toll and Consecrated Sphinx and the flashback on Forbidden Alchemy. Shiels plays a end of turn Forbidden Alchemy.
And the more choices that Dave Shiels ends up with, the more the thumbscrew sort of comes down on Matthew Costa.
Oh yeah. Dave probably going to take a land on this. This will be his 7th land. It would allow him to play a Bloodline Keeper with the mana left over to pay for Mana Leak. Dave now flashes back a Think Twice and finds another Mana Leak. So we'll see. Is Dave going to go for the Bloodline Keeper here? Or is he just going to continue to sit back and wait?
Well, he's not under any significant pressure.
Yeah, just passing the turn to Costa, who goes ahead and plays a end-of-turn Snapcaster Mage. Will presumably to flashback a Salt Scour, which would hopefully put more creatures into his graveyard that he could remove to Moorland Haunt.
That's good.
And indeed, what's going to happen? Does hit a creature.
He's got to be careful, about milling his creatures away. It doesn't, like he's pointed out, he doesn't have that many, and he's still got to deal some damage.
Well, for now he's turning the Snapcaster Mage into a Spirit Token. Got 4 power on the board now. Suddenly, Dave Shiels is under a pretty real clock. Is he going to use his Tragic Slip to take out the Snapcaster Mage before Costa can untap? No, he's just going to pass the turn. Costa, some Taxian Probe. Going to let him see everything in Dave Shiels' hand.
Well, he's going to get a look at things are getting rough for me, I think. I think that's his... I mean, we see the Curse, we see the Bloodline Keeper.
The Tragic Slip, Snapcaster Mage, Mana Leak, and Think Twice.
Uphill road for Matthew Costa from here.
He does know that... Well, I guess Dave can still... No, Dave would still be able to counter the Geist of Stain Trap should Costa attempt to cast it. Dave can play Mana Leak, and even after Costa plays, play a Snapcaster Mage to flash back that Mana Leak.
Certainly, getting into the red zone is important for Matt, but he knows. I mean, he knows his time is limited because of Dave Shiels' Curse.
Yeah, if that Curse is off at any point, the only threat that he can have that will live through it is Geist of St. Trap and Jace Memory Adept. Costa would need to draw one of his Celestial Purges or his Revoke Existence to really get himself back into the game. Dave Shiels, not wanting to take a bunch of damage, uses a Tragic Slip to kill Costa's Snapcaster Mage and takes 2 from the Spirit Token.
looking really good for Dave Shiels right here. I think he's gonna eat a few more points of damage, but
things certainly seem to be tipping in his direction.
I just don't think that Matt Costa has the threat density that he needs to push through everything that Dave has. The curse, being the most significant, but that Bloodline Keeper is going to keep guys off his back for a long, long time, and then eventually turn around and just create an army of vampires that's going to kill Matt.
Yeah.
He only has so many counter spells.
Matt seems to be thinking about casting this guy's same trap now. It does not. He just passes the turn back to Dave. Ready to make another Moreland Haunt token at the end of Dave's turn. And Mana Leak or Vapor Sag, anything that Dave should play.
Dave is going to think twice.
Tries to go for the throat.
Yeah.
And another think twice, which will get him a land. Dave already has 7 lands, but that 8th land is a very welcome addition, as it will allow him to play Curse of Death's Hold and pay for Mana Leak, should Costa cast it.
Yeah, I think every new card that Dave Shiels draws slips another few grains of sand through the hourglass for Matthew Costa. His time is running very, very short. The term that you used throughout the weekend, inevitability.
Oh yeah. Is Dave getting ready to try to push that Curse of Death Hold through this turn, or is he going to wait a little bit longer? There's a lot to be gained from just going ahead and making that strong action.
Your turn. Six.
Another Moreland Haunt Spirit for Matthew Costa. He draws a probe. He's gonna play it.
Already knows that Dave's hand is good.
And now
Find out that Dave's hand is even better.
Great. He's got 2 Snapcasters, Mana Leak, Go for the Throat, the Bloodline Keeper, and the Curse of Death's Hold. Curse of Death's Hold really is Death's Hold.
Oh, but Costa just drew a Celestial Purge. One of the few cards he has in his deck that can deal with a resolved Curse of Death's Hold. Really big draw for Matt.
Huge. Dave Shiels, pretty cool character. 15 life, 12 life, neither of which really put him in too much danger.
Nope.
In any danger or any immediacy, not like, Matthew's deck is not particularly explosive like we saw Jackie Lee's deck be and kill from that. But a Runechanter's Pike.
Yes. We happen to know that Costa boarded out his Runechanter's Pike. Dave doesn't know that. Dave is going to use Nephalia Drownyard on himself. Still trying to find more good flashback cards, more good cards.
I think actually flashback Forbidden Alchemy.
Oh,
there.
he did. I'm sorry, I totally misread that situation. Dave,
My first clue was the 4 card.
Good clue. I thought he was just getting a little bit excited.
Yeah, and the other thing that Matt's got to look to is he's not drawing as many cards as Dave Shiels is.
No. Every turn,
So
Dave is flashing back a Sanctuary, flashing back a Forbidden Alchemy, just pulling further and further away, making these land drops, drawing more really powerful spells.
Just keep it down.
And Dave finds another land. Really is taking closer and closer to a point where he's going to play Bloodline Keeper or Curse of Death Hold and put Matt into a really bad spot.
There's a second Drown Yard.
Which is another potential route to victory.
Again, at 6 cards a turn, not going to take that long to mill out Matt. I think Matt's body language is telling us a great deal. He's a great player. He knows the game. He knows Dave Shiels' deck. He knows he's in a fair amount of trouble.
And that is the Bloodline Keeper. It's been in Dave's hand since the very beginning of the game. Just now gets around to casting it. So he knows he has 5 mana left over.
And it's met with a Vapor Snag.
Matt does not want that Bloodline Keeper to stick around. So punch through as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible.
Now Dave has a decision to make. Does he try to cast it again and go? Looks like he's just not.
Well, it's at the end of Dave's turn. Dave finds himself on 11. Matt Costa just threw a Batter Skull. Very relevant threat. And looks like Costa can play it past Mana Leak right now.
He's going to get in for 3, or try to get in for 3.
Will Dave kill one of them, save himself some damage? That Batter Skull has potential to do some really good things.
Well, in addition to being a powerful equipment in its own right, and your guy making a guy big and giving it lifelink, it also creates another guy that Dave is going to have to deal with.
Dave trying to figure out what he wants to do with his combat step, and that'll really inform a lot of Costa's decisions. I think Costa has to play the Batter Skull this turn. Dave's tapped low. He can only play 1 Mana Leak. Go for the throat. Take out a token. Save himself a little bit of damage. Still falls to 9. Is the Batter Skull coming?
Well, looks like Matt's going to go for the Geist. Nope.
No? Oh? That is going to be the Geist.
He can pay for the Mana Leak, still have Mana Leak mana of his own available.
Costa had already seen Dave's hand. Knows roughly what to expect.
Again, these guys are very, very cool characters. Very well-skilled players, looking down all the lines of play, the branches of the lines of play here.
Now, Dave, thinking about maybe flashing in a Snapcaster Mage, knows that that'll give him a blocker for the Geist later. Maybe using a Mana Leak, forcing Costa to tap down a little bit. Give himself a good chance to resolve Curse of Death Hold and Bloodline Keeper on his own turn.
Certainly, the Bloodline Keeper is the lead. Is the lead out here, right?
I'm not sure. It doesn't look like he's going to get into a spot where he's going to want to cast both of them next turn. One possibility he should consider. All right, we're now on to the end of Costa's turn. And Dave, again, has to think about playing that Snapcaster Mage.
Well, he's got to consider the possibility that there's a Snapcaster possibility. There's a Snapcaster that Matt might have.
Right. Also, doing a quick instant sorcery count to Story Sands should just have a Rune Chanter's Spike. Uses the Snapcaster Mage to flashback a Tragic Slip, leaving Costa with only a single Spirit token and the Geist of Sand Trap.
That positions him better for a peel into Liliana.
Yeah.
By reducing the number of tokens that Matt has. Although Matt's got still has guys in the graveyard.
Now, Snapcaster Mage is good enough to block Geist. Geist can tag in for a lot thanks to the token that it generates, but it itself is only a 2/2.
And Vapor Snagging a Snapcaster Mage, not the kind of play you want to get into if you're Matthew Costa. Vapor Snagging your opponent's Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, I don't think that's really going to be much to his liking.
Okay, here we go.
Cast Curse of Death Hold.
Obviously, he can pay
for a Mana Leak, but Costa has a Celestial Purge.
Which we will probably see him trot out there at an end turn. Although 5 mana still open for Dave Shiels. That's a lot of sauce right there.
Dave, passing the turn over to Costa, needs to decide if he wants to play the Celestial Purge yet. Costa knows that there is a Bloodline Keeper in Dave's hand. Might want to save the Celestial Purge to deal with that. Costa also has that Batter Skull. He is going to Celestial Purge.
Batter Skull costs 5 to cast and 5 to equip, correct?
Yes, and 3 to return to his own hand.
If Matthew Costa gets into a situation here where he gets Dave Shiels tapped out,
he's going to be able to resolve the Batter Skull, and he can equip it to his Geist, force Dave to chump block, and knock Dave down to 5 from his Angel token. Dave's still trying to figure it. No, he has no responses. The Celestial Purge will get rid of the
Matt looking
for
something to make a Moorland Hunt token with, doesn't find anything.
Does draw a second Mana Leak,
but does not have a 10th land in hand.
No, but he does have enough to play the Batter Skull and leave 2 Mana Leaks up. But Dave very well might Mana Leak the Batter Skull immediately, not wanting to give Costa an opportunity to equip it on his turn or leave up mana for his own mana.
Does Matt know that Dave has that Mana Leak in his hand?
He does not know about the Mana Leak, but
he does know about the Snapcaster,
right?
And the Mana Leak then that's already in the graveyard,
right? So
again, a lot of options here for Dave Shiels. It might look like he's got his back to the wall, but I think he's in a relatively strong position.
No, Matt actually has a lot of power in this spot. If he's able to stick that Batter Skull, Dave's going to have to find an answer, and fast. He only has 9 life, so he can find himself taking 4 from the Angel token that Geist generates on an attack. Shiels is probably favored at this point, but Costas can still win very easily.
There's the batter skull. Now comes the battle of our time.
All right. Is Dave going to Mana League?
Well, Matt hasn't played a land yet.
Correct.
So one of the things that might be going through Dave's mind is, well, he could now drop a land and equip up the Geist.
Correct. Not sure that's the line that Dave is most worried about. Dave can flash in another Snapcaster Mage. We can go for the Throat the Angel token, untap, play both his Bloodline Keepers.
He's going to get the Snapcaster out there.
And
probably a better play than... he's got a negate in the graveyard that he milled with his...
And negate is going to get Mana Leaked. Wait. Dave has only 1 mana left over now. Can't really do anything from there. Costa now, no attacks. Does not want to trade his Geist for a Snapcaster Mage, even if he can get in for 4 more damage. The difference between 9 and 5, not worth losing a Geist over.
All right. Deal is here. Dave Shiels has not 1, but 2 Bloodline Keepers in his hand.
Do you think he's going to cast both of them here?
Well, he still has Mana Leak, but what's he worried now? I mean, it looks like Matt Costa is going to have to win mostly with what he has on the board.
Right, and Dave has 2 Snapcaster Mages that he can chump block with. Also, if he has 2 Bloodline Keepers out, he's going to be able to get to 5 Vampires very quickly, turn both of his Bloodline Keepers into Lord of Lineages,
and just overrun.
And just kill Matt Costa in one swing. Give all of his Vampires +4/+4.
Yep.
He is going to play both Bloodline Keepers. Now, Costa's got to do something and fast.
Still has Mana Leak mana up. Probably not significant for most of what Matt Costa wants to cast, but it's significant in that it would be 3 mana that he wouldn't have to either bounce or equip the Batterskull.
Right. Costa uses Mana Leak, protecting the Batterskull. He can't stop either of the Bloodline Keepers right now. Need something really good to happen. I don't... Costa joked around about his Corrosive Gale, but I can't imagine that he sideboarded them in here.
No. It would be pretty much a beating.
And we can see that Costa drew a Vapor Snag. Doesn't seem like he has enough to kill Dave here, but can get in a good number, can get a good amount of damage. If he attacks with the Geist and the Batterskull, Dave would have to put Snapcaster Mages in front of both the Geist and the Batterskull Germ token. No? Is Costa thinking about moving the Batterskull?
Of course, Batterskull gives the creature
is going to move the Batterskull.
+4/+4, Vigilance, and Lifelink.
So Costa now has a 6/6, Lifelinking, Vigilance, Geist of St. Trapped.
So you're going to go in and try to get Shields into an unfavorable block position, into a double block position, then Vapor Snag one of the guys, or is Dave Shields just going to play the conservative?
Yeah, Dave does not want to trade his 2 Bloodline Keepers for the Geist.
Well, he certainly sees that as a relatively quick path to victory.
The 2 Bloodline Keepers, yeah, they're going to get out of control fast. Costa does have a Vapor Snag that he just threw. Probably buy him a little bit of time, but not much.
No, he's going to gain 6 from the lifelink there.
Yeah. And knock Dave down to 5 with the Angel token. And he's going to play a Vapor Snag after combat. This will bounce a Bloodline Keeper and put Dave down to 4.
So he's certainly going to put Dave's back a little bit.
Dave checking. He wants to make sure that Costa does not have any creatures in his graveyard that he could
make a Moreland Haunt token with, right?
If he could, then that Moreland Haunt token could pick up Batter Skull, give Costa a different route to victory.
Remember that Bloodline Keeper only has to tap to put a flyer in a 2/2 vampire with flying into play. So that's pretty significant regarding the Geist of St. Traft's Angel.
Yes. See that Dave drew another land. He's probably going to replay his Bloodline Keeper and pass the turn over to Costa. Costa, again, going to need to draw something very good. Or else those Bloodline Keepers are going to take over the game.
Remember that Shiels has Drown Yard mana and Mana Leak mana.
Oh wow, Costa drew a Snapcaster Mage.
Oh, this just got interesting.
Huge. So if he can get back Celestial Purge, he can get back Vapor Snag. If Costa attacks in with his Geist, St. Traft, Dave taps a Bloodline Keeper, makes a Vampire too. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. He can... Costa's in really good shape now. So block them.
Make a guy.
Makes a guy. Costa's backing him up. I have something to do. Gonna play the Snapcaster Mage. Gonna get back Vapor Snag, bounce the token, force Dave to chump block with his Bloodline Keeper. Into this exchange, Dave's gonna be on 3 life. He's gonna have just 1 Bloodline Keeper left. And Costa's gonna have a Snapcaster Mage, a Geist of St. Traft that's equipped with a Batter Skull. Really good for Costa now.
Once again here on GG's Live, bringing you tight, intense Magic all the way down to the last play of the last game. So there is chump blocking. Matthew Costa ticking up to 28 life. Dave Shiels down to 3.
Costa knew that he needed to draw something good. Snapcaster Mage certainly fit that bill. Now, Dave Shiels tapping out to flashback a Forbidden Alchemy. That gives Costa an opportunity to Mana Leak it.
Right, so Dave Shiels, 2 cards left in his hand.
Dave finds himself in need of an out. What's it going to be? It's a Black Sun Zenith.
Dave Shiels has been the master of the top deck.
Huge. However, Matt can make a Moreland Haunt token. He can also return his Batter Skull even after Dave wipes the board.
Dave's going to have to kill his own Bloodline Keeper in order to get the Geist.
So Dave has certainly bought himself a little bit of time, but still needs to draw yet another really good card. Yeah, huge. Huge draws for both players. If Costa doesn't draw a Snapcaster Mage or a Vapor Snag or a Celestial Purge on his previous turn, then Dave's able to just run away from the game with his 2 Bloodline Keepers. it is. Costa did draw the Snapcaster Mage, and even with
There's the hand. Dave Shiels knows.
You're too good.
Matthew Costa, huge come from behind win in that game. Immense come from behind. You have seen nothing but exciting magic here on GG's Live all weekend.
Yeah, it's like this.
Finishing with brilliant play by Matthew Costa. Brilliant back and forth game. Everything you want in a match of Magic.
Unbelievable. Costa knew he had a one-turn window to draw something really good, or else he was just going to lose to the two Bloodline Keepers on Dave's side of the board. Finds the Snapcaster Mage that he needs, flashes back a Vapor Snag, forces a Chump Block, takes the game, takes the match.
Here we are.
Wins the Grand Prix.
Matthew Costa, Grand Prix Baltimore champion, 2012. We're going to get him in. Talk.